Jessica, let's talk about something that happens where something gets communicated verbally.
Yep.
And maybe even text message, maybe even email,
Mm-hmm.
but never makes it into the contract. So I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
And you tell me how you would handle it if you're representing the buyer.
Okay.
So we were at a house, and my seller didn't leave for the showing.
Okay.
And so the seller was talking to the buyer, and the buyer was there with their agent, and the buyer said something about, I just hate this paint color.
Okay.
And the seller said something along the lines. Now, it's just verbal, so I didn't hear the conversation, but the seller said something like, well, I mean, I could paint it for you. What color do you want? And the guy said gray. Okay, gray. They made an offer on the house.
Okay.
Now, if you're representing the buyer, what do you have to do?
You want to make sure that that is written into the contract.
It was
specifically.
not written in the contract. The seller didn't even tell me that he said it.
Wow.
And then when they came to do their final walkthrough, guess what color the house was?
Not gray.
Not gray. So the agent calls me and she's like, hey, Jenny, your seller agreed to paint the house gray. And I was like,
Where?
what? And I did go back and look at the contract because I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't think. And she said, no, he just told us. Okay, that's not how real estate works in Georgia. Anywhere. But Georgia for sure. So, like, I called my seller and I'm like, tell me how this happened. He said, well, I was just saying if they wanted, but when they didn't ask for it in the contract, I didn't plan on it.
Right.
And we paid some closing costs and stuff. So they still bought the house. But the agent who didn't put it in the contract ended up paying for paint.
Yep.
You know, because do you think she should have put it in the contract?
Definitely.
Definitely. Now, what's one you've had?
One I've had is I was helping a seller also, and the agent said that they were going to send us an amendment during their due diligence period to address a couple of minor repairs. Well, our due diligence period came to a close, and we didn't hear from the agent. And she circled back a week and a half or so later, well past our due diligence time frame, asking if the repairs had been done. I said, well, no, like, we never received an amendment from you. We assumed you had moved on.
Right.
So, I mean, it does happen.
Yeah.
You have to pay special attention to those deadlines.
Yeah, so just in case you're like new to buying real estate, due diligence is when you first go under contract, you have a time period that you've negotiated. So let's say 5 days where you're having a home inspection. You can ask for what you want to be done in writing. And then the seller either agrees and signs off on it or says, I'm only willing to do this or I'm not willing to do anything. But it's definitely negotiated. So in this case, she told you that she was going to send something, never sent it.
Yep.
And when you went back to her and said, I'm sorry you never sent that, what? Y'all, this is what she said. Oh, I forgot.
Yep.
Please. I mean, I'm practically begging you. If you're hiring a real estate agent, hire professionals who like do this for a living. Because in this case, she had to go back and say they're not making any repairs. Our people had already moved out.
Right.
We never agreed to any repairs. And the people buying the house really thought those repairs were being done.
Yep.
And I hate when a buyer is buying a house and it's not what they expected.
Right.
Because the agent didn't do their job. And I think, like on the team, I will say one of the things is, like, if, let's say Jessica had done that. Can I use you as a bad example?
Sure.
Like if Jessica had forgot to send the amendment, first of all, we'd be having a heart-to-heart.
Yep.
But we would have made it right for the buyer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, our consumer, our seller, or our buyer, whoever we're representing, they matter to us.
Absolutely.
But if it's not in the contract, it's just not, you just can't hold people to it.
True.
Sometimes they'll do something, but a lot of times they won't, you know. And repairs, like this is another one that happens often, is you have to verify that those repairs are done before you close on the house.
Yep.
So like we had an issue where they had requested a repair be done to some kind of plumbing, and the seller fixed it.
Fixed it.
And it wasn't fixed. So, like, if we had called it before closing, it can be complicated.
Totally.
So, yeah, make sure you're checking those repairs. Make sure it's in the contract. All right. Hopefully this helps.